A very good evening to all of you. Welcome to my channel. This is Akash Gaur. I'm a student here at ABS IT of Computer Science branch, and today I'm going to be talking about the game of basketball. So I think a lot of us would have heard about basketball, right? Some of us would also have played the game in school or in college or somewhere else, and it is, in my opinion, one of the best sports there are to play, as it keeps us healthy and active and is a really fun sport. So if you haven't played it before, I'd suggest you to try it at least once, as it is a really great sport and you'll definitely enjoy it. So if you're one of those that don't know about the game at all, don't worry. I'm here to help you in order to understand at least the basics of the game, its history, and and other important things, so that you could have a little bit of an idea about of what the game is all about. So let's get into it. So first, the basic question: what is basketball? Basketball is basically a team sport which is played indoors. A game of basketball consists of two teams of five players each that tries to score points against each other by throwing a ball through a 3-meter high hoop. Hoop is basically the basket. Each hoop is placed at the end of a rectangular court. So there are basically two hoops at both ends of a rectangular court. Now, moving on, this in this section we'll try to understand a little bit about the history of the game, history of basketball. So James Naismith was a Canadian PE instructor who invented the game of basketball way back in 1891, which is more than 100 years ago. Back then, the game was played with an ordinary soccer ball and peach baskets between two teams of nine players each, as the game was relatively newer and there weren't many rules to the game, so you can understand why the game was used to be played by a soccer ball. Soon, metal rims replaced the peach baskets with the netting underneath. Later, people cut the netting so that the ball could go through easily, and they don't have to make a lot much fuss about it. In 1892, basketball first got introduced to women. Now, how is the game played? How is basketball played? So, basketball is played by two teams who score points by throwing a ball into opposite team's basket. Each team has a squad of 12 players to choose from. Five of these players are allowed on the court at a time with unlimited substitutions, meaning the rest seven of the players that are in the squad are allowed to sit on the bench and can be substituted in the game during any point in time within the game. Players can move the ball around the court by passing the ball, tapping the ball, throwing the ball, rolling the ball, or even dribbling the ball. Now, the duration of the game. The game consists of four quarters of 10 minutes each, with a 15-minute break at halftime. There is also time interval of 2 minutes between the first and second quarter and the third and the fourth quarter, which means there is a 2-minute interval between the end of the first quarter and the start of the second quarter, and there's another two minute interval after the third quarter and the start of the fourth quarter. If the game is tied after the fourth quarter, it continues with an extra 5-minute period, then as many 5-minute periods that are necessary to break the tie. Which means if the game is tied after the allocated time, then it goes into extra time of 5 minutes in order to yield a winner. If the game is still tied, then the extra time continues until we get a winner. Moving on. Scoring. Now, how are points scored in a basketball game? Points are scored for shooting the basketball through the hoop. 2 points are awarded for shooting the ball from inside the 3-point semicircle, and 3 points are for goals scored from outside. Free throws taken from the free throw line and awarded after a foul are worth 1 point. Free throws, what are free throws now? Free throws are basically penalties awarded to a player who's fouled inside the 3-point semicircle and is the one allowed to take the free throw. Moving on to the main officials and some simple rules. So now, who are the main officials in the game? So main officials include a referee and an umpire whose job is to make sure that the integrity of the game is maintained and all the rules are obeyed during the course of the game. The court is divided between them and they swap places after each foul involving a free throw penalty as well as after each jump ball decision. Means after every foul, they swap between each other. They swap their duties between each other, and the duties is to award free throws as well as jump balls during the course of the game. They use whistles and hand signals to make and explain their decisions. Each game begins with a jump ball as the referee throws the ball into the air in the center circle and two opposing players leap up and try to tap it away. Each opposing player is allowed two taps before the ball hits the ground, a basket, a backboard, or another player. Now, a set of simple rules. The ball may be thrown in any direction with one or both hands. So you can throw the ball in any direction by using either your right hand or both your right or left hand. A player cannot run with the ball, which means in order to advance with the ball, the player has to dribble the ball rather than just hold the ball and run with it. A player must throw the ball from the spot on which he catches it or dribble the ball with one hand while they are running. The ball must be held by the hands only, means you cannot use your feet or any other body part while playing the game. Shouldering, holding, pushing, tripping, or striking a player deliberately of the other team is a foul, as is striking the ball with a fist. Means if you deliberately hold, push, trip, or shoulder or strike a player, then you could be at a risk of suspension as well as when you punch the ball with your fist. A goal shall be made if the ball is thrown from the ground into the basket and stays there, providing those defending the goal do not touch or disturb the goal. Means a goal is only valid if the ball is thrown from the ground and the basket stays there, and those defending the goal do not disturb the basket, which means they do not touch the basket, they do not move the basket in any way, and the ball simply goes in the net. If the ball goes over the backboard, hits the side or top of the backboard, then the ball is officially out of play. Means if the ball goes over the backboard, hits the top of the backboard or the side of the backboard, the ball is basically dead and is not in play. Moving on to the basketball court. Now in this section, we'll learn a little bit more about basketball and its court. So we'll start off from the center circle. Center circle is basically the region in which the game starts. Only three players, only three people are allowed to stand inside the circle. The referee, player from let's say team A, and player from team B. Next, the 3-point line. If a goal is scored from beyond or on or by standing on the 3-point line, then 3 points are awarded. 2 points are awarded if the goal is scored from within this region, which is the white line, which basically indicates that this is called a D. So if a goal is scored from within this region, then 2 points are awarded to the player and his team, his or her team. Next is the free throw circle. Now the free throw circle is the region within which a player is allowed to take a free throw. Next is key of shaded lane. Now the key of shaded lane is the region where most of the action during the basketball game takes place. It is also known as the active region, as it is the most active region during the course of a game. Now this is a restricted area. Now the restricted area is the region where players from the team that is defending aren't allowed to stand for more than 3 seconds inside it. Otherwise, it is deemed as a foul. If they are supposed to defend the ball or block a ball, they have to come from the left hand side or the right hand side of the restricted area and not by standing within the restricted area. All these sections are same for the other half of the court as well. Now, off court, this region from here to here. Now this is the region, this is called the substitution box, and this is where the game officials usually sit. Game officials can be the people who are organizing the event and the referees and etc. They can be from the NBA, which is the National Basketball Association, the NCAA, the National Collegiate of Athletic Association, and could be from FIBA, which is the Federation of International Basketball, and etc. These are the coaching boxes or the bench where the players and the manager of team A are allowed to sit. The same applies. This is the same area for team B, where the bench and the manager sits. This is the end line and this is the sideline. Now these are basically the boundaries beyond which the game cannot continue. Means is the game is dead beyond this point. Video until next time.